Bit disappointed with it.
Yeah, I
Morning.
haven't seen. I finally saw them all, the whole series. So we'll talk about it later.
The series is great. I mean, it still holds up all these years later.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Watch hockey pictures over the weekend. And that's the true story.
Really?
That is interesting.
You can hear me? Try it again. People on Zoom, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, now you can hear me. Okay, I tried to start the meeting, stop the recording. All right, there we go. Good morning. It is a beautiful day here at Buffalo. I was able to get out and start doing some spring cleaning. So I'm all excited, and I know that next week is our open house, and we're getting ready to celebrate a wonderful holiday that has to do with the color green. Very excited about that. So this morning, I'd like to ask if there's anyone who would like to do an inspiration, even if you have another role, if you feel inspired this morning. I'm looking at the people on Zoom for a hand. I'm looking for people in the, Dave Licata, who loves.
Good morning, Lord. Thank you for this excellent opportunity to meet with these excellent people. Because, Lord, we know what happens when we don't communicate correctly. We strive to improve our communications, our listening skills, and our leadership. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with this august body. Now, I would ask everyone, Zooming or in person, to join me in a moment of silence for a special intention. Thank you so much, and amen.
Thank you, Mr. Licata. Stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm even more inspired because I just thought about how when we do the Pledge of Allegiance, sometimes like that time, we all sound like one voice. That is a very deep thought that I won't go greatly into because I don't want to make the meeting run over. I don't want to take away from our Toastmaster of the day. I like the subject. And you want to do the roll call on Zoom?
Yeah, and I'll have an announcement.
And you have an announcement as well? Okay, Eric. Nancy, get ready. But Eric's first. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As your immediate past president, it is time for nominations for the incoming officers for the 2022-2023. I will be making up an email in the coming weeks, and if anybody's interested, I'll have my contact information and anybody's interested for officer roles for next year. Now on to our attendance in person and in Zoom land. We have in person, Kate, Nancy, Larry, Thomas, myself, Beth, Chris, Jill, Steve, Joe, Mike, and Dave, and Marty. And on Zoom is Phil, Mike, David Jones, Dr. Lenhart, Margot, Dr. Stevens, Jen, Carol Ann, Mark, and let's welcome back Les Robinson, who's back on with us this morning.
Thank you with that. Person who's going to take over captain of the ship, guide us through our journey today and move us toward the horizon. Nancy Ferry.
Yes, Mr. President. You put a lot of pressure with that introduction. Wow. I've never sailed a ship. I do kayak, but that's about as, it's a two-person kayak, so I'm not sure how well I could sail a ship with a lot of people. But here we are today, and I chose the topic moving. It was on the spur of the moment last week. Eric texted or sent me a little note that said you're Toastmaster next week. Katie sent me a note, you're Toastmaster. And then 2 minutes later, Tom comes up and said, what's your topic? And I was like, moving, because that's all that's on my mind right now is that I am moving yet again. I read somewhere that the average person, or yeah, they move like 5 times every 5 years. I'm average, I guess. Less than average, because this time it's only been 3 years. So with the meeting beginning with a toast to changes in our lives and new possibilities. Some changes are about letting go of people, places, and things. Sometimes it's moving forward in a career or in our Toastmaster pathways. It can be as simple as getting up on Thursday mornings and moving our bodies to get together with our fellow Toastmasters. May all our moves be seen as openings into new possibilities. I'm going to invite up first Dave Licata, who, did you already do, you didn't do the inspiration. You did. Didn't you? You did. I knew that. Remember, I said the only thing on my mind was moving? As I've been learning about this moving thing again on a different level, as just a little bit older than I was last time, my motto is, how important is it? In the big scheme of things, how important is this thing that is bugging me? Do I keep it? Do I toss it? Do I put it in a box and maybe use it next time? Do I want it? Right now I'm doing, it's going to be 2 moves. We're moving to a friend's house for a couple of months until our place is ready at the end of the summer. So, and then we've got the change of seasons, and I go to camp. We have a camp in the near Blind Sodas Bay. And so there's all these, how do I decide which thing goes where? And if I pack this permanently, will I want it? And sure enough, I packed a bunch of books. I thought, I'm never going to read this for a while. And sure enough, one of those books is one of the ones that I packed. How important is it? I can go to the library and get another book like that, or I could say, forget it. I'll read it next time. And it's been really a challenge for me to go through it yet again, because we did it last time, 3 years ago, when we moved my mother-in-law in to stay with us. And we did the right thing, and we went through a lot of things, but we're going to live simply and no clutter, no extra things that we didn't need, no extra Tupperware kind of thing. Darn, they just multiplied. They multiplied. I would like to invite up Carol Ann. She is on Zoom. Well, I want her to be invited up to open up her speakers and microphones so that we can hear her. Carol Ann, please share with us, what is the word of the day? I can't wait to hear it.
Today, I've chosen the word relocate, since that goes along with the moving theme. And it's to move to a new place and establish one's home or business there. And relocate is a verb, but any form of it can be used, and table topic people must use it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol Ann. Great word. And as we think about relocating and moving, I'm going to ask you to welcome up our master, Stephen Smith, who will tell us about his job.
Thank you. Now, my job today is to listen to Ann's ahs, ohs, sums, uncomfortable pauses, and any other novel or interesting word you come up with to use for a crutch word. I will be listening and I'll report later.
Thank you, Steve. And our grammarian, who is in the house in person. We welcome Marty Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day, fellow Toastmasters, and someone who we haven't seen for a long time, Les Robinson. I heard he's on Zoom. Welcome. As grammarian this morning, I will be testing my listening skills and listening and recording any wonderful uses of the English language, any colorful, beautiful, vibrant uses, and any uses that may need a little help, and I'll be reporting back at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
And for the rest of the people that are here, because I forgot to ask you, I want moving tips. What's your best tip? I'm one of those people who looks at all those fun things like stuffing glasses and wine glasses into socks when you and you save a box by packing it that way. My spouse is the opposite. Let's buy some more plastic wrap. Let's buy some more boxes. Let's buy the special whatever, whatever. I'm like, use what we got. Then how important is it? So our quote master, David Jones, I see you ready and warming up your hands to share with us a great quote and also a moving tip that you can share with us. Thank you. Welcome, David Jones.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My tip for moving is one I just learned from my daughter, is to have fun. My son-in-law is a college football coach, and they move every year to 2 years. And they just moved to Louisiana. And after unpacking everything in the garage, they had to break down the boxes and all the packing paper. And they basically had a snowball fight, the four of them, my grandchildren and my daughter and son-in-law. They had a snowball fight with the packing materials, throwing at each other. And now she said that's going to be their routine since they moved so much. That sounded like a fun thing to do with packing paper. Now, my theme for today regards moving or relocating, as it might be, and I have 3 quick quotes. The first one is, the first step towards getting somewhere is to decide that you're not going to stay where you are. That's by Unknown. Unknown writes a lot of quotes. Second one is, if you're brave enough to say goodbye, life will give you a new hello. And that's by Paulo Coelho. And finally, if we were meant to stay in one place, we'd have roots instead of feet. And that's by Rachel Wolchin. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. I like that, roots instead of feet. Our next role holder is Phil Russell, who will bring us a little humor. He is our jester, and please welcome him. And also, Phil, please give us a moving tip.
Moving tip. That's usually a pool cue. The tip is always moving. However, in the real move, meaning relocating, I, in my earlier years, relocated because of what I was doing. And My sister, she only relocated about half as many times. So there's one of two choices. I settle down and I save everything. My sister, when she settled down, it's gone. Everything is clean and gone. So I would advise you, if you're trying to get rid of it, follow my sister's steps. If you like to save, expect a packed house. Now, on to the moving back in. Moving back in with your parents is not rent-free. There's at least one or two of them. Being in the military, my kids are used to moving around a lot because I use them for target practice. What happens when an escalator stops moving? Everyone stops and stares. Let's finish it off with, what do you call an electric car that isn't moving? Static. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate your tip and a little bit of sunshine, laughter. The next person has already been introduced as our president. I would like to invite him up to tell us about what his job is or will be as timer and also a moving tip.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning, everyone. Once again, I am timer today. The position has been relocated to the east end of the room for a reason. The current last position, it was a little difficult for everyone to see. And people online can't see the actual bulb. So I will be actually standing if there's someone online giving a speech and being approximately a location here-ish with the green, yellow, and red cards. The red card will probably be put right into the camera, so you can't miss it. If you, all you'll see is red for the podium picture here. A lectern. Okay, I'm gonna call it. I don't like a podium.
It's like $20 fine, isn't it?
No. 30 days. All right. We just need to put a little sign on here. It says lectern. Right. Anyway, there are three things that are timed. The table topics at 1.5 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer, and outside of the 1.5, 1:45, 2. The normal speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Green at 5, yellow at 6, red at 7, and then of course your evaluation or evaluators are 2 to 3 minutes with green, yellow, red going at 2, 2.5, and 3 minutes. Both the speeches and evaluators get 30-second buffers. I think we don't have any new speakers, so we always try and hold everyone to the buffers for who wins when we vote. Please remember to call on me after we finish each section, and I will give my report.
Thank you, Thomas. Our tech and jester master, Jen Zapla. Please tell us what you do and what is your moving tip that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I will be your tech and gesture master today. So I will be reporting on how we do both using body language, be it on Zoom or in the room, and how we do tech-wise. So if we have any tips or snafus in terms of what we're doing technology. And it's quite difficult to be tech and gesture master in a hybrid world. Since we've relocated to our new location, it makes it a little bit more challenging because you're looking at in-person and camera things as well. In terms of my moving tips, I have two, Nancy. These are my moving tips. Number one, enlist as many friends or family members as possible to help you with all of your moving. And number two, don't even actually do that. Just hire someone. It's so much easier. It's so much stress, all of the lifting, all of the moving things. And when someone else is doing it for you, it takes all of that burden off your shoulders. So those are my moving tips. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll heed your warning. Mark Campos is our quiz master. Mark, would you please share with us what your responsibility as quiz master looks like and what is your moving tip that you'd like to share with us? Welcome, Mark Campos.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I'll start with the moving tip. If you want a moving tip, don't do it. Stay where you are. It's a pain in the ass to move. There's so much stuff. Early in our marriage, we moved so many times. I've had to help countless other family members move. Thank God we have not moved in the last 25 years, but if I had to pack up my house, I don't know what I would do. But on a serious note, to echo what Jen said, I realize everyone may have, or people may have financial constraints, but at a minimum, do this. Pack the boxes yourself. If you want to rent a truck and drive the moving truck yourself, that's fine, but it's money well spent to hire the movers at least to pack the truck for you, because they do a better job of fitting it all in and carrying the heavy stuff. So take that one to heart. Anyway, as Quizmaster today, I will be compiling a list of questions throughout the meeting, and I will administer a quiz at the end of the meeting to test everyone's listening skills. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. When I watch the neighbors move, they just have 2 babies, so they're young. They took the shoe rack full of shoes, carried it out to the truck very gently, set it sideways, and then the kitchen pots and pans were going out. Okay, here's a pot, here's a pan, here, throw some dishes in. There were no boxes, there was no tape. And I'm just like, I don't want to know what happens to this at the end. But it was very interesting. So having somebody to move for you is a great idea, to make sure things are in place. Now we turn to a very exciting part of our meeting, and we've got Chris Banks going to tell us about table topics. And I would also very much like to hear if you have a moving tip to share with us. Let's welcome Chris.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. I really don't have a moving story. I haven't done that much moving in my life. I tend to, even though we don't have roots for feet, that's what I tend to do. I tend to stay in one place for a long time. As table topics master, I am in charge of impromptu speaking. So I will be asking members to come up and talk on a topic that I've chosen, which of course is going to be about moving. And you have about 1 to 2 minutes to talk about that topic, and you have to use the word of the day. So my first choice is going to be Beth. So I'm going to call you up here so it gives you a chance to get up here. Talk about any moves that you have made. We have often moved, and we all have some kind of story, whether it's the good, the bad, or the peculiar. So what is your relocating story?
We have been in the house we are at now for almost 33 years. However, before that, my one brother called us the moving king and queen because we moved a lot. We were, let's see, what our first few years of marriage, we lived at my grandparents'. We lived in an apartment in Lockport. We moved to an apartment in Medina. We moved to a different apartment in Medina. Then, because of my husband's job, we were relocated to Toronto. That was my first experience with someone coming in and packing everything up for you. Oh, that was wonderful. After we had already moved a number of times, that was great. They lost a pair of my jeans, so I didn't forgive them for that, but we ended up in Toronto for 6 months. and we were relocated again to Raleigh, North Carolina. We moved into an apartment there. For that visit, it was interesting because we couldn't find our towels. Doesn't seem like a difficult thing. The movers moved you. They wrote on every box what was in the box. There was no box labeled towels. We had to use one towel between Phil, I, and Katie was just an infant for 3 days until I found the towels that were under the knickknacks. Okay, it was good padding, I guess, but I never understood why somewhere on that box it didn't say knickknacks and towels. It should have said towels. We moved twice when we lived in Raleigh. Then, no, 3 times in Raleigh. We finally moved, we finally moved back home to Bert. And then we moved to the house we're in now. That is my moving story. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Beth. Les, are you available? Les? Oh, there he is. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Do you
Okay.
have a moving story for us? And remember to use the word relocate.
Yes, relocate. Basically, I will stick to the same topic as Mark Krampos. Don't do it because moving is a pain. I have moved a bunch of times in my life, and each time I moved, I just kept throwing more and more stuff out. And as you move, I don't trust moving companies. They called me I went to Burger King to get them food, surprisingly, because they said they were going to come to the new location. I was parked behind them and they texted me and told me they were lost. I got out of the car and I walked up to the van and I knocked on the door and I said, "Why are you lying to me?" And it was just when they moved from one house to the other house, it was just not a very fun and pleasant experience because it started out good. And then the guys just were one disaster after another. When you try to go do something fun and exciting and help people and buy them food, like my wife says, you got to go buy them a lot of food because they're moving. And they said they were going to come to the house. And then from that point on, it was a very tense moving from the van to the house. And basically, when you hire the moving company, just go out and get some references, which I did. I knew the person, I called them up. I actually ended up getting about 80% of my money back from the moving. So at the end of the day, moving is a fun thing, but overall, it's just not that exciting and don't like it. So thank you.
Thank you, Les. It was good to hear from you. Tracy. Your moving story. And don't forget to use the word of the day. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My first tip for everybody, if you're gonna move, store at Wright's Corner Self-Storage. Second of all, if you haven't read Facebook, there's a mass caravan going up Route 78 so everybody can relocate to the town of Amherst. I'm calling it fake news. However, my parents did move last year. They built a new house from their house that they had been in 30 years. They hired a moving company. Definitely have a moving company move all of your stuff. None of us are strong enough. We don't want to break our backs over this. These guys are professionals at doing it. My mom had the best time in the world moving. She went around, she has all new furniture and she was decorating and picking out curtains. My dad was having a heart attack over all of this,
but my mom enjoyed it. It was the best experience for her. They moved into their new house. They love it. It's a nice condo. It's one floor. It's beautiful. I would live in that house any day, but they enjoyed it. And actually, after all the expenses came in, my dad does enjoy the house. He likes it, and he's the cheapest person in the world. Besides Dave, maybe. Oh, the way you were looking at, okay, maybe Dave's not. He does go to expensive restaurants. I do know that. However, it can be a good experience if you go through, enjoy it, redecorate, have fun, and make it enjoyable, because that's all you can do. Thank you, Madam Table Topics.
Well, thank you very much to all of our speakers for coming up today and sharing your moving stories with us. I'm going to call up our Madam Toastmaster back up to the lectern. Thank you, Chris, and what great topics we have today about moving. I would like to invite back our word master first. Carol Ann, how did our word do with our table topics today?
All of the participants used it. Les just kind of said it at the beginning, but he did say it, so they all qualified for word.
And our timer, Thomas, will you please tell us how we did with times?
Thank you. All three contestants did qualify. Beth Banks at 212, Lester Robinson at 139, and Tracy Squirrel at 143.
Wonderful. We stayed within the parameters, which is something I have to remember to do as I'm moving. There are a lot of parameters that I need to stay within. So please cast your ballots for one of our table topics contestants. And all three qualified, and I think that the basket is coming around. During the pandemic, I understand that a lot of people have moved. If you look at the housing prices, you will notice that they have skyrocketed beyond possibility. Talking to a friend the other day, and she put a bid on a house $50,000 over the asking price, and it went $120,000 over the asking price. It's crazy. The trend was moving out of the big cities for most people because they're looking for somewhere that was safer, perhaps less restrictions, felt like you weren't crowded together. Except young people were moving into the cities because it's a great way to meet new people. The rents were much cheaper. The suburbs and luxury homes, those kind of places were booming. Absolutely not what we expected, I guess. Not what I expected. I don't know what other people expected. Some people moved for short term. Some people moved for long term. A lot of people moved to places where they could live with family, making a house with a suite or an in-law apartment, duplexes, those kind of arrangements made it so that people didn't feel like they had to isolate from each other. Lots of big changes. And right now we are going to invite our speakers to share with us their speeches. And first we have I have to find the right page here. Our evaluators. And I believe Anne-Marie Lenhart, you are evaluating Larry McKenzie. Anne-Marie, please tell us what you will be looking for
and what his goal is today.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Relocation, I consider that a nightmare. When we were first married, we moved 7 times in 10 years. My husband had to try different graduate programs. And so we kept moving. Decluttering is so important, Nancy. That's the most important tip that I can give you. You know, if you haven't used it in a year or two, just discard it. Don't pack it. The last move was in Pittsburgh, where we had our first house. And I hate to share this because you're going to think I'm crazy, but I had to take the flagpole, which was beautiful, and I was attached to it. So we packed that. We also packed all the cement furniture around the around the yard. And my husband had actually made a beautiful tree house for the kids. So we dismantled that and remantled it in Buffalo. Luckily, I was hired by Canisius and we had movers, but it was crazy. The second hint is reach out. I noticed every time I moved, there was a lot of emotional stress. The phone never rang. I didn't know anybody. So connecting, I think, is a key. So that's my 2 tips. Larry McKenzie, I'm very honored to be an evaluator. He'll be rehearsing his speech, which he's actually going to present this Friday at the International Speech Conference. So it's a real honor. He's doing a pathways speech on Know Your Sense of Humor. And his goal is to add humor to the speech through anecdotes and stories. Nancy, do you have his title?
I do indeed. Thank you, Anne Marie. And let's welcome Larry McKenzie. Welcome Larry McKenzie with the title of Stop Sign.
Mr. Timer, please do not start yet. Before I begin, my quick moving tip. Years ago, my wife was working at Tops, and she had a good friend who came in and said, "Your husband owns a van, doesn't he?" I happened to go in for lunch, and she said, "Yeah, there he is right over there." So she came over and she said, "I was just talking to Margie, and she said that you own a van." And I said, "For your work?" And she said, "Do you travel a lot with your equipment?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "Oh, well, do you have anything in your van now?" I said, "No." "Why?" She said, "Well, I just purchased something and I was wondering if you could help me move it." "Sure." Because my wife said I should help her. She bought a piano from this man who said, "I can't help you get it out of the house." So I went with her. The piano was against the wall. It was too heavy. It was too big. It wouldn't fit in my van. We had to go rent a truck. So to make a long story short, it was a 9-hour move to move a piano with myself and this young lady and nobody else. So if anyone asked, "Do you own a van?" No. Okay. All right. Today, before you start, I am going to be presenting my speech tomorrow night for the international contest in the division level, representing Area 11, which is our club, AM Lockport. It will be virtual. So today's going to be a little bit different because I don't have any of my background and prop or anything like that. But I wanted to have an opportunity to present today and practice. So thank you for indulging. Mr. Timer. 16 years old. I was waiting for that time like every other young teenager because you know why? Because I have the opportunity to get a driver's license. What? No, you can't. You have to get a permit first. Learner's permit. I went and said to my dad, I said, "My birthday's coming up in another week. Can we go get my learner's permit?" "Well, slow down, slow down. It's January. There's snow outside. Let's go get the book and you can study." Ooh, that was exciting. Not really. We went and got the book and I started looking through the book and I'm reading all of these road signs, things that you should do, how to learn how to drive from a book. I was ready. "Dad, can I go take the test?" Study a little more, study a little more. It took about 6 months. Finally, I was able to go and take the test. It was really exciting. I passed, first try. We left there. I said, "Dad, can I drive?" "Not yet, not yet, Larry." So we got home and a week went by, another week. I said, Dad, can you teach me how to drive? He finally, after much prodding, said, yes, let's do it. I think he might have had a few drinks before just to settle his nerves, who knows. But we went out, got in the car, 1970 Torino, classic car, really nice. We got in the car. He said, okay, turn the key, start to drive down the street. We went about 6, 7 houses, got to a stop sign at the corner. I read the book. I knew what to do. Got to the corner, stop sign. I slowed down and then cruised right around the corner. Dad yelled, stop! He said, did you see that sign? I said, yeah. What did it say? I said, stop. Did you stop? No. Let's go home. Drive around the corner, pulled up in front of the house. He said, that's it. We're done. What do you mean we're done? Can I go get my license now? No, you cannot, Larry, because I'm done. I cannot take you anymore. You're going to have to find someone else to teach you. It took months. Finally, after asking everyone, I was ready. Take my road test, pass, get my license. Dad, can I use the car? Sure. Take the car out. No stop signs, nothing to worry about. Came up to a red light. Car in front of me makes a right. Next car makes a right. I'm the third car. Hey, I could do this. Turn right. As soon as I go around the corner, policeman pulls up behind me. Sir, do you know why I pulled you over? No. You went through the red light. I said, so did the other 2 cars in front of me. He said, but there's a sign back there. The sign says no turn on red. Oh, I got a ticket. Didn't go well. I lost driving privileges because signs. There's signs everywhere, stop signs, red lights. Those were lessons that I learned way back when I was 16. I carried them through life with me because about 2005, I was involved in a car accident. I had a rollover. There were road signs. There was also signs of maybe I shouldn't have been driving that late at night. I rolled over, broke my neck. Had a long recovery period. It was not a good thing. Was I going to be able to walk? Was I going to be able to drive? I didn't know. But during that time, there were signs that I wanted to give up that I didn't. I pursued. And what I did was I had to find a way to make myself better. How could I do that? I found out there was a place in Utah. I took a trip to Ivins, Utah. While I was there doing rehab and learning the things that we take for granted, there was a walk, a hike. And the hike was about 3.5, 4 miles from a canyon. It's called Snow Canyon, beautiful red mountains, gorgeous place. But you had to walk from the bottom to the top of the canyon. What the ultimate goal was to get to the top. You know why? Because at the very top, once you're able to reach that, there's a stop sign there. And you get to hug it and take your pictures with it. Sounds easy? No. It took me 17 different days to be able to walk, not make it. Walk, not make it, because it was very difficult. Finally, when I got there, I hugged the sign and I said, I've made it. But did stop mean stop? I learned a long time ago that you don't cruise through the stop sign, but when you get to the stop sign, you have to stop, look around, take notice, and seize the opportunity to persevere, because you have to keep going. Through our lives, we're going to meet and be challenged with many, many things like that stop sign. What we choose to do from that moment is what will perhaps change our lives. So whenever you're faced with that stop sign or that roadblock, remember this: stop, seize the opportunity, and persevere. So I implore each and every one of you here today, and those that you may encounter through your life, pass on this message to them, because it's my gift to you. to never, ever stop.
Larry, thank you so much and make us proud. We're already proud. Do a great job tomorrow night. We're looking,
By the way, 6 p.m. if you'd like to join on Zoom, it's available.
is it? Send the link. Okay, great. Speaking of stop signs, I wish the Toastmasters had a stop sign to remember to introduce the general evaluator at the bottom of the agenda. It's always there. I printed it off just as is. And I would like to introduce the general evaluator before our next speaker and before our next evaluator so that we know what she will be doing as well.
Thank you, Nancy. No problem. But I will be your general evaluator, everybody, and I will evaluate the overall meeting, our Toastmaster and our evaluators today. I'm pleased to invite up our second evaluator, evaluating Mike Florio on Zoom. We have here evaluating him in person, Dave Licata. Dave.
Before I get into the situation about the speech, I want to share my moving tips with you. The first tip is make damn sure your father and his brothers own the Cotter Brothers Wholesale. That will give you a fleet of trucks. It'll also give you a plethora of empty boxes. Then you go over to see Uncle Vincent Licata vending and say, can I borrow those 2 big gorillas that move the Pepsi and Coke machines? And they can move the refrigerator and the stove. So those are my tips. We did investigate moving with these high housing prices. A very dear friend of mine who's been in real estate forever came over and explained to me, yeah, you can sell the house, but you won't have enough money to buy a new one. So 142 Allen Street, I'll be coming out of there feet first. And now, back to Mike. Mike Florio, welcome back, Mikey. We're excited that you're back. We missed you. You are an excellent Toastmaster, just to put a little pressure on you. And he is waiting for the information and the pathways, guidebooks. So he's a bit adrift. I gave Nancy his title, and I gave it to Nancy because I didn't write it down. And I know what would happen that I would forget. But I'm going to reintroduce Nancy as she relocates from over there to over here. Nancy Ferry. 5 to 7 times. I remember the 5 to 7 part.
Let's welcome Mike Florio with his speech, Dream On.
Before we get started, I just want to clear up one thing. It's actually Game On is the name of the title. I don't think Dave heard me. And then I wanted to share maybe one tip that I have about moving as well before we start. And that is goodwill. If you haven't touched something in 5 to 10 years and it's still in your attic, it's time to let it go. So Goodwill is the best place to take stuff. I know that now because I'm packing up things at my mom's house right now, and some of it just won't sell, and it has to go. So Goodwill is the best place for it. And maybe somebody else can get a second life out of it. So I'll get started. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome back, Les. Nice to see you again. COVID has been tough on all of us these past 2 years, and hopefully it's well behind us. And we've tried to find a silver lining out of COVID. If there is one, it's Thursday nights at the Florios, which became game night. No online games, no cell phones, no Call of Duty, no laptop, no newscasts. It was just face-to-face battles of competition We had a bunch of laughs, arguments, conversations, a great way to start conversations, and a great way to have family and friends together to reconnect, stay close and communicate. It really was a good learning experience in our family for some of the younger people to communicate who were kind of in their shell and not even going to school at the time. So it gave them a chance to kind of break out of their shell. Before game night, we would all be busy in what we were all doing. So everyone was going here, going there, and maybe we'd get together, once or twice a month for, a dinner or something. But this was every Thursday. Every Thursday we knew we were getting together and we knew we'd be playing games. And we started out with some of the older games like Clue, but Clue was kind of slow and predictable. Everybody, how everybody goes towards the same room and the same weapon. That one was, everybody got bored of that very quickly. And then we looked at Risk, and then I said, well, Risk, you probably could start Risk at the beginning of the pandemic and probably never finish until the end. It was that slow. That's how slow Risk is. So we avoided Risk at all costs, really. Monopoly, the kids knew I liked Monopoly because it was right up my alley. It was about properties and renting, and that's kind of what I do. And so they conspired. They conspired for me to lose. Now, they knew that I had Marvin's Gardens in the corner, the yellow area, and I was building it and I had really good rents. But what does my son do? Who in their right mind, seriously, sells boardwalk at cost, so that the other person can have a monopoly? I mean, they knew they were just cheating. There were all kinds of other games we played. We played euchre card games, Uno. We played over 40 different games. And I was drawn in to learn some of the newer games, which I really enjoyed. And I wanted to maybe go over a few of them that I like that are the newer games. This one right here, Stockpile. Right up my alley again. I like to trade stocks. It was a great way to teach people about dividends, market fluctuations, news that affects stocks. It was really an excellent game. I would recommend this one to anyone. It is a lot of fun, and it's really 101 of learning the stock market. The next game I really enjoyed was Deception. I called this game Clue on steroids. It's a lot of fun. Deception has more weapons. The murderer could be you or anybody else, and it's a game of you have to lie your way through, and it's just a lot of fun, this game. The other one I like is Catan. Catan is another trading game, and you're trading stone, hay, wheat, and you're building your own little empires until you take over the territory. And it's all about negotiating Catan. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to teach people how to negotiate. And last but not least is Crew. Crew became one of my favorite card games because no one person wins at Crew, and everyone loses. So it's only a 4-player game, but when you're traveling through space and each person has a chance to be the captain, and everyone has to go through all of these iterations in order to win the game. And if the whole team does not win, then it's just a great game to learn how to work your way through as a team. And a lot of my younger kids, they really enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun. And I learned a lot actually from them just by playing the game. So after COVID is long gone, game night is going to still be a tradition at the Florio House. And every Thursday night will be game on, Mr. Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. I just wrote down a list of games that I might have to purchase to replace some of the ones I just gave to Goodwill. Our next speaker will be Mike Licata, and our evaluator for Mike, I have general evaluator on the brain, will be Eric Schneider, our most immediate past president. Please welcome Eric Schneider to introduce our speaker, number 3.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I have a moving tip. Don't scratch the paint. Or just make sure your father isn't around so you can get it out quicker. Anyway, on to evaluating Mike Licata this morning. It's a pleasure to evaluate him. And he is speaking of pathways to dynamic leadership level 4, manage change. Practice developing a change management plan, shares some aspects of a change management plan, and his time is 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Timer. And Madam Toastmaster, do you have his title?
I do. It's called Building Patience.
Building Patience, Mike Licata. Come on up, Mike.
Eric, before I get started this morning, Madam Toastmaster, my moving tip would be lose my number. I am high up on a lot of people's lists when it comes to moving because ever since we did move vending machines when I was a kid. That was an experience. So I kind of grew from there. So usually at the end of every semester at school, we'd always end up throwing out TVs, not dressers, but TVs and mini fridges turned into love seats, sectionals, and sofas. So I got very old very quickly. So that would be my experiences with moving. My speech this morning, building patience. I know that the change management plan and this part of the Pathways Dynamic Leadership Potential really was unique for me in the fact that I actually had to sit down and put together a plan and really reflect on take the opportunity to reflect on the last 2 years of what was going on and where the world is in relationship to working in retail. Now, like everyone else in New York State, we basically sat around for 90 days and waited to see when the world would get back to some sense of normalcy, morphed into working in retail and selling wine. We had to make sure that all the tables were 6 feet apart. We had to make sure that everyone had crackers in front of them. We had to make sure that people were comfortable in their situation. And that also meant really restricting and limiting the number of people in groups that could show up to the winery. And part of the effect of that was we found that when people were more comfortable, when people could ask questions and sit down and really read the wine list and take the time to learn, they were happier, they enjoyed themselves more. And it worked for our end as well because I learned patience. I learned that we didn't have to rush people in and out of the winery through their wine tasting experience. So it was definitely a great way to help me build patience through these new experiences and the new realities of working at the winery. Now, we used to, I wouldn't say rely on large groups, but it was a nice chunk of change when that limo would come up and we would charge them that upsell extra and it would be a little bit more money in the coffers. The but being, we have found that when people are able to sit down and experience their wine tasting a little bit better, they are more than likely to spend more money. So a lot of the old ways were offset by the fact that these new people would spend extra more money, so our actually per person number would be greatly above what it was pre-pandemic, when we would have to rush the limos in and out very quickly, and we would have to unfortunately put the smaller groups at one end of the bar, so they would feel unwelcome sometimes. It would also be a bad sense of timing if they came in between large groups, or they came in around the same time as a lot of the large groups and a lot of the other things. Now, the other thing that about a year ago, the other unfortunate thing that came out of the pandemic and out of our situation working in retail, and the fact that everyone had to take their mask off around us. So there really was, I did spend about a year, a little bit of uneasiness that you did push to the back of one's mind when it came to building patience. Yes, there's always the potential, but as long as you took the time to wear the correct mask and to make sure that you weren't around the person for longer than a few seconds or within the breathing radius, that you could get away with it. The but being is that we were put on the list when the state opened up its vaccination program. We got to jump ahead of a lot of people because we got to join, because the governor's office understood and knew that they needed the restaurants in the cities up and running again in all the major cities. So we got to join the list of restaurant workers that got to get vaccinated with the second group. And so all I had to do was show a pay stub when I drove out to Rochester to get my first 2 doses. So that was another thing of building patience and building patience as things changed, is the fact that I got the luxury of jumping ahead of a lot of other people, which I understand. It's at the time it was contentious, but again, that's where the patience came in the fact that you're able to get the vaccine when you wanted it, and it didn't have to, and it incentivized me in other ways too. Not only it helped me with work, it helped me with the side hobby of being able to umpire last summer. So there were many different reasons to get the vaccination. So I am thankful that my job I was able to jump the line. Building patience and building a way forward is going to be the next interesting thing, because we have found that fewer people also means less stress on us. It's less stress on the employees, because with larger groups, we found that you would have to yell more, you would have to make situations become more uneasy, because you would also attach the fact that one would become a cattle herder and just trying to get the people out the door instead of trying to sell them wine and trying to explain the wines. So we're able to do more with events and things like that. We're able to take it easy when it comes to dealing with the people that spend the money a little bit extra to do the private events and some of the other special events that we have done in the last 2 years. So change is very hard on a lot of people. And I know that the last 2 years have definitely been difficult for certain people, but I think that the last 2 years have definitely helped me grow to build that patience as a person and to become a better employee through all the policy changes. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Mike. You mean you can't just go to the deli and pull off one of those tickets and have patience? I would love for that, but what is it? Patience takes patience, learning it, and patience is a virtue. I want patience, but I want it now. I'd like to welcome back our timer and have him tell us whether our speakers met the parameters in which they were given, 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As president, Larry, you've won multiple contests with that speech. I'm actually gonna make a ruling that we aren't gonna vote for you for best speech today. I agree. Okay, so that'll be between Mike and Mike. So you're gonna have to use the last name, either Mike Florio, who was on Zoom, or Mike Licata, who gave his speech up here. They both came in at the exact same time of 6:25, making time. My moving tip is, before you move, when you know you're going to be moving, publicize you're going to have beer and pizza. All right? Because there's not a time I can remember in my 20s or 30s where I was either hurting for money or looking for a good time. But I'm only out, but then you got to remember they are only good for about 6 hours. After about 8-10 beers, your movers are going to be a little bit less, a little more clumsy, let's say, in relocating your items. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, please cast your ballots for either Mike Florio or Mike Licata, differentiating them clearly, please. There's a lot of stresses in moving. It's huge on the index of stressors. We just had a death, which is up at the top. The stress of moving and changing. Fortunately, I am not moving out of the area. I'm staying local, so I still know where all the grocery stores are. I will still know my way around. Well, I never know my way around. My GPS sometimes has to take me home from places that I know very well. Knowing where I am, even a new location, at least I'm not moving far, far away. I had thought of it when I was in the middle of being a caregiver for my mother-in-law. I thought of moving far away and never coming back. And then I thought of Toastmasters, all my friends. I thought of people that I've learned to work with. I'm talking about my work environment. I love some of my working people, and some of them I've learned to live with, but also the familiarity, my faith community. There's so many people that are important to me, and I changed my mind. I want to be here, and I like it. Sometimes as people get into retirement age, they think, okay, let's just go far away. All those changes are just way too stressful for me right now. Thinking of the stress, even when just moving from here to here, are they going to ruin something? Last time they broke my grandmother's bent glass china cabinet, and I was debating whether to get rid of it or keep it, get rid of it or keep it. It was the last thing, and I had packed it. It was beautiful. The weather cracked it, the ice, the snow, the cold weather cracked it. And that made up my mind. Of course, I'd already packed it and paid to have it moved, but that ended that. But who's going to move? The physical exhaustion and emotional exhaustion of doing that. How much does it matter? How important is this? Sometimes it's emotionally important. I don't need it, but I want it, but maybe I don't want it, but maybe I do want it. So whether it goes in the box or out of the box, then the finances, and just learning not to put your GPS on home and go to another place. Like, okay, I live here, I head there, and then I go the wrong direction. So I am hoping that the stress will be alleviated soon, and that I will learn build some more patience into my moving process. I would like at this time, Kate, do you want to welcome up the evaluators? All right, I will do that then. Kate Orr, our general evaluator.
Thank you, Nancy. I have two quick tips for you. Instead of labeling boxes with what's in it, label the room. Like pack all the kitchen things together, or pack it and say kitchen, or dishes, kitchen, books, living room, curtains, office, whatever. The other thing is take a photo of the back of all of your electronics, like how your computer hooks together, how your TV and stereo hook together. Take a photo, then you'll know where everything belongs. That's a big tip that I learned the hard way. I'm going to actually give a few announcements, so if anyone leaves early, they don't miss the announcements, and these are from your officers. The treasury announcer, because Sylvia is not here today, Sylvia and Len are on vacation, so they're enjoying themselves this week, but dues are due by the end of this month. Thank you to everyone who gave me a check today. I will give that to Sylvia when she's back next week. Remember, it's $66 for 6 months or $132 for 12 months. Also, Len updated the PayPal link or credit card link right on our website. And Sylvia and Len added the 50/50 add-on. So if you'd like to pay $25 for 6 months or $50 for the year, you can pay for Split Club in advance. This is especially to anyone on Zoom, but for anyone who doesn't want to pay week by week, she'll make sure that you get a ticket each week. And we thank you very much for that. Second announcement, officer meeting next Wednesday. Zoom meeting 6 to 7 p.m. The same meeting link. Please use that. We'll see you officers there. Lastly, our open house, our spring open house is a week from today. I will be your Toastmaster and our speakers are confirmed. We have Steve Smith and David Jones and Larry McKenzie as our speakers. I have 2 confirmed guests already. That's not enough. Please share what I emailed to you, or if you're on Facebook, use the Facebook event. You can share far and wide to your friends, your coworkers, your clients, any colleagues, anyone you know who would benefit from speaking and communicating and leading. And that's everyone you know who's age 18 and over. We have plenty of space here at the YWCA, not the YMCA. Make sure they know 32 Cottage Street, the YWCA, and plenty of room on Zoom. And the Zoom link is in that email as well as on our Facebook event. So please be sure to use that. Wear green and your name tags for St. Patrick's Day. We're going to have a great time next Thursday. But let's get into our evaluations because time is short today. So I would love to introduce off of Zoom, Anne Marie is our first evaluator today. Anne Marie, the floor is yours.
Good morning again, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Larry McKenzie. Larry, you are such an excellent speaker. You really are. You're so polished, you're professional, you're a DTM, and one of your greatest strengths is you have a very joyful stance. Very, very powerful, great use of body language. You have a very expressive face and you kind of really fill up the room. You use very good pacing. I didn't see anything where you went too fast or too slow. It was modulated. It was very good and you were very well prepared. So lots of wonderful givens. You really bring energy into the room and occupy the space very well. It's hard to try to find ways to improve because you, again, are so professional. A couple of things, though. When you mentioned the Torino, it kind of took me back to the Grand Torino with Clint Eastwood and the polish of the car and racism. So I don't know if you could play that up in any way. I think that's a powerful image, and maybe you could, do a little bit of describing in terms of the vehicle. In terms of improvements, I hated the mic. I hope you're not going to hold that while you're doing the speech. I know you're professional in terms of tech stuff, and I hope that you're going to be wired in some way where you don't have to use the mic. Secondly, I would have liked to see an invitation in the beginning to invite us in terms of your main topic. You might have said something about we all face very many challenges in life, and we have to make decisions that affect our actions and that affect results. And stop signs is one. So some way, I couldn't really think of anything particular, some way of inviting us in and linking it to your conclusion in the end. The other suggestion I had is, could you do something with the sequencing? You know, first there's a 16-year-old boy and, you know, the problems with learning to drive and stop signs. Maybe stand in one place where you're talking about that. And then when you talk about the Torino, a different place. And the third piece, the Utah, you kind of lost me on that. Maybe it's just me. I don't know, the 17 days and going up on the mountain. I don't know, integrating that maybe in a different way. But otherwise, these are just sort of picayune things. Otherwise, you did an excellent job. And, you know, with your energy and your expressiveness, I know you're going to win the contest because you're the greatest. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Anne Marie. And our second evaluator is Dave Licata, evaluating Mike Florio this morning.
Just had an epiphany that when you are an incredibly nice, warm person, it comes through in the speech. And Mike Florio, and I don't want to embarrass him, is one of the nicest, warmest people you will ever meet. But it doesn't stop there, because he reeled us in beautifully. Game on. Fellow Toastmasters, everyone here has played board games. It's a universal pastime. We all have memories of it. What a better way to lasso in that audience and get our attention. Brilliant. I loved it. Nice touch welcoming Les back. That was a good idea. That's very nice. Now, getting back to the university, oh my goodness. Getting back to the fact that everybody's had experience with board games. In 1971, when I was a student in London, England, we found out there was a British version of Monopoly, and I sent it home for myself. I still have it, and that became an epidemic. And who here doesn't have multiple versions of Monopoly? So that's to reinforce the point about talking about something that everybody's familiar with. So that was very clever. And you shared with us the warmth that was going on in these meetings and how it was a good way to take your mind and your family's mind and our mind off the pandemic and how the pandemic limited everything. But leave it to those clever Florios to find a way around that and get together. There were some lapses in eye contact, Mike. When you held up the games, it could have been more camera centric. And then something we're all guilty of, everybody. It could have been a little bit more preparation, but we're all guilty of that. So don't take that too hard. But great facial expressions and underline the humor. He did a great job. And he called the one game Clue on steroids. That was pretty funny. That was well done. Hey, Mike, welcome back and never relocate again. Thank you very much. Madam Toastmaster, or Madam General Evaluator, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dave. Our third evaluator is Eric, evaluating Mike Licata. Hurry up, hurry up. I mean, speak slowly, but hurry up.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Fellow Toastmasters, Tom, Mike. Mike, thank you so much for giving us a well detailed speech about building patience. During this past couple of years, we have been testing our patience with this pandemic. And you gave us a brief and distinct background of how the pandemic has challenged us in patience, learning how to deal with spreading like 6 feet apart away from each other, wearing the masks, taking them off, then putting it back on. And then all of a sudden you forget to put your mask back on, and then that is not good. But the most important thing that I did like about the mask is that you make sure you're, like for your breath, to make sure, see if your breath stinks or not. But anyway. No, that's all. I enjoy wearing the mask to make sure my breath doesn't stink, because I get scolded at the house when some people ask me, why you smell so much? I'm like, I don't know. But getting back to Mike's speech, you had good gestures and facial expression. I'd like to see more of it, because you kept doing like this, more of that. Spread out. Move away from the lectern. We could move this back a little bit, give you enough breathing room, and just to express yourself. I liked how you gave more about talking about how, like, the vaccines, you guys had to go and get vaccinated first. I didn't know you had to bring a check stub to the vaccine site, and I never knew that. I should. That would have been great for me, because no, I don't want to go there. But Mike, I appreciate your calmness. You had great pauses. I think that everybody too should do some brief pauses in their speech, so we can all gather all the information that we can and learn more about the speech. So Mike, I'm looking forward to hearing more. And thank you so much, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Eric. In the interest of time, let's roll right into, oh yeah, sorry. And it's a good thing you stood up. Our timing report. Thomas, please. How did our evaluators do?
All our evaluators came in between 2 and 3 minutes, so they're all good to go.
Thank you very much. So please send to Larry in chat if you are on Zoom, or in person. Eric is coming around. Thank you, everyone. We have 5 reports to give. We will do it in this order. First will be the Master. Second will be Grammarian. Third will be Tech and Gesture Master. Then fourth, our Quiz Master, and we'll round it off fifth with our Word Master. Our Master today is Steve Smith. How did our pregnant pauses do? Steve Smith.
Thank you. Actually, we did very well today. I didn't detect any uncomfortable pauses. Very few ums right off the bat. Eric had a couple ums. Oh, good, I'm gonna get a bunch of stuff. No, you people are too good today. Mike Florio had 1 so that I heard. Mike Licata had a few so's. Dave Licata had a few ands. Basically, we did a good job today. Keep up the good work. I will tell a quick story about moving. I'm the wrong person to ask. I've lived in the same house for almost 68 years. That does not mean I haven't helped other people move. Why? Because I own a truck. Hey, Steve, what are you doing Saturday? Why? I've never said no to anybody. I won't loan my truck, but I'll help you move anywhere. And so I have a lot of moving experience, and I agree with label everything.
Okay, what are you doing Saturday?
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Our Grammarian, Marty.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters. For the sake of time, I'm going to move right along. In my grammarian report, some phrases that I liked that I heard in the English language. Eric, you were talking about Mike's, evaluating Mike Licata's speech. You said, testing our patience with the pandemic. I like that. Mike Licata, I liked when you said, reflect on the last 2 years, building patience. And then you had a phrase you used twice, and I didn't know exactly what you meant, but I wrote it down. I wrote, you said the but being, I don't know if you meant, someone says, I like this, but I think, and is that what you said? You said the but being, okay. Or the other side of the coin, or the flip side of that. Okay, so I just wrote that down. Caught my ear. Phil Russell, I like the phrase, expect to pack house. Talking about moving. And Dr. Anne Marie Lenhart, we dismantled the treehouse. Picture that. And you were commenting on Larry McKenzie's intro, and you said, some way, I like this. You said some way to invite us in, about the intro in Larry's speech. Les Robinson, welcome. Nice to have you back. Welcome. You had a number of good phrases. The one you threw me off, you said, they caused me, and you paused, and then you started, and you said, I. It was just a little, maybe a pause or a glitch. Mike Florio, try to find a silver lining. They conspired for me to lose. And then when you're talking about the game Crew, you said, and if, and you had a repeat and if. Two more things, I'll be done. Bear with me. There were, Larry McKenzie, you said, there were signs that suggested that I should give up, but I didn't. I like that. And then you said, what we choose to do in that moment, I believe you were saying, I just filled this in, may define our future. That was very good. I like that. What we choose to do in a moment may define our future. And Tracy, I jotted this down. I was sitting right next to you. I thought this was hilarious. She said, talk about moving and advice. You said, my dad was having a heart attack, but my mom was enjoying it. I mean, I know what you meant. I know what you meant. And everyone else did it. It just caught me. I wrote that down. And then last but not least, Dave Licata, a plethora of empty boxes. And you said at 142 Allen Street, if we ever have to move, Dave said, I'll be coming out feet first. Back to you, Madam General.
Our tech and gesture master, Jen.
Yes, for our tech and gestures today, just a couple of things to be aware of. People in the room, don't forget about your Zoom people. So make eye contact with the camera that's there, because otherwise it just looks like you're ignoring all of us. In general as well, I noticed some people, particularly shorter people, when the microphone is low, it's blocking half your face. So it's a little bit awkward for people on Zoom, or when it's high, I mean, so just be aware of that. In general, I think we did have some good hand gestures. The pauses when you're on Zoom in between people coming up are really like long and awkward for the people here. We can't necessarily hear everything that's happening in the room. The clapping kind of cuts out after a minute. So just be aware that we can't see and hear all of that. For people on Zoom, don't forget to clap and express in between, because I think we've lost a lot of that now that we can hear a little bit of clapping. The people on Zoom aren't actually doing that. So those were my general notes. Don't forget to make eye contact and be aware that what you're seeing isn't the same as what the other side is seeing, whether you're in the room or on Zoom. So be aware. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And Mark, our quiz master.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, let's get to it. Nancy mentioned having a camp. Where is it?
Sodas Bay.
Correct. What was David Jones' moving tip?
Make snowballs out of the wrapping paper.
Make snowballs out of the wrapping paper.
Have
And have a
fun.
snowball fight. Okay.
Oh, what? Keep going.
When Beth Banks relocated to Toronto, what item was lost?
Her jeans.
Pair of jeans. And when she relocated to Raleigh, what was lost?
That was the towels.
That was the towels, but they were found, thankfully. What type of house did Tracy's parents move into?
Oh, a type in Amherst.
Condo?
Condo.
A condo, correct. On 1 floor to be exact.
Condo.
Where was Anne Marie's first house?
Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, correct. What was the first car Larry drove?
Torino. 1970.
1970 to be exact. What night is game night at the Florio's?
Thursday.
And lastly, what lesson has Michael Licata learned over the past 2 years?
Patience.
Patience. It's a virtue, I hear. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. And our word master, Carol Ann.
The word did well. Dave Jones once, Phil, he used it, I think 3 times in 1 sentence. Tom used it once, Jen, Anne Marie, Dave Licata a couple of times. And the main thing, Beth, Les, and Tracy, our table topics people, used it. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Carol Ann. Great meeting today. We started on time. Timely theme that Nancy has, that she is moving, and we all can relate to relocating. We all have. I love that, Nancy, you asked for tips, not just stories about moving. That was fantastic. For our evaluators, you all are seasoned. You all used a sandwich approach in one way or the other. Larry, I do recommend that you watch the recording. You probably knew that already, but Anne Marie could say that. David, fantastic. This is one of your best evaluations that I recall. Eric, the only thing, and I have to remember it too, the evaluation is about Mike's delivery, not your perspective and your stories and you kept reining it back in, but remember that. And in the interest of time, I think it is time to kick this back to our president and or Toastmaster of the day. So come on up, whoever's handling all of this. All right.
All right. Well, there is a little sign now that says, I am a lectern. That'll be right up here. All right. So I'm going to go fairly quickly with the first part, or our winners. Our table topics winner for today was Beth Banks. Yeah. Once you collect about 30 of these, they don't, but you gotta get to 30.
Thank you.
No problem. Our evaluator for today winner was Anne Marie, everyone. Anne Marie. Virtual ribbon for her. The speech contest, as we know, Larry was the winner for the area, so we didn't vote for him. And amazingly, the rest of the room was split evenly for a tie between Mike Florio and Mike Licata. So everyone is a winner today. Not just a generation, huh? All right, so here's the jar right here. Did you want a ribbon? Okay.
The winner is 244.
237. All right. As a reminder, I'm going to be placing this up on the front table. Don't forget to put your name on your non-winning tickets and place them in. Okay. So that's that. Done. 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 Good. Everyone, Larry, good luck.
Yeah, best.
Give you some energy. Virtual. All right. A little bit of my luck, so I may have bad luck for the next 24 hours, but you'll have good. The Key for next week, as told to us previously, invite 3 people for next week's meeting, and one of them will be here. All right, so try and get as many people invited as possible. Dave Licata mentioned last week he would like to do the radio interview, so we will be putting that out. Don't forget to mention the people who might be job searching. This is a good opportunity to learn how to talk in front of people, the little quirks in your own speech and or the way you present yourself. And there are even modules in level 2 for going through an interview. So you can actually have a practice interview with your evaluator and get that. That's one. The other one is anyone that you know that holds a position where they do public speaking and they don't do it well. Approach it with some tact, but say, you become better by watching people who are better. High school players only get up to the level of other high school players, college to college, NFL to NFL, and all of them will tell the same story. When you go to the new bracket, it's a whole new game. So Toastmasters is a whole new game. That's another way to put it. With that, I'm going to ask if there are any other announcements other than our big open house next week. Wear green, be a leprechaun, whatever. I'll have my little leprechaun hat. Yeah, I know.